Hello there. Because as shamans we get to go to some pretty extraordinary places, which involves living behind the earth, being out in the cosmos, other dimensions, other realities. It's incredibly important that we balance our journeying life, our shamanic life, with our physical existence. And indeed, most of the people that I have had to train with me have picked this up really quite automatically. However, I felt it was time to make a film about it so that anyone is a shamanic practitioner, whether you train with me or with somebody else, or maybe you haven't even trained with anyone, I strongly recommend you take this on board. So, because of what we do is very much out there, when we return from our shamanic journeying, it's helpful to do lots of grounding activities, and the kind of grounding activities that people don't generally think about so much. I mean, washing the dishes, cooking a meal from scratch, fetching and carrying things, carrying weights, carrying loads of shopping, water, wood, whatever it might happen to be, moving house, getting rid of stuff, helping someone else move house, building, making things from wood, gardening. All these are so helpful to balance us. But I've left my favourite till last, which is the cleaning. Cleaning is such a satisfying thing to do, and it's so appropriate and relevant to shamanic practice. As a practitioner, I do fervently hope that you've become someone that appreciates and enjoys cleaning, because effectively this is a very big part of our work. In fact, it has been said by Western occultists that more than 90% of all magical work is actually trash removal, taking stuff to the tip, getting rid of things, making composts and composting waste plant materials. These are really helpful things to do because they're very, very 3D and extremely grounded. So sometimes I hear people telling me that they ground to do yoga. And if you want to do yoga, that's great, but don't regard it to be particularly a grounding activity, even if it might be for your general person. You want to be engaging with physical stuff. And this is why I particularly don't recommend the gym. Because when you go to the gym, you do all this physical activity, that's true. And when you come out at the other end, that's all you've done. You've been in the gym, you've paid some money, and you've done some things to develop your body. That's great. However, there's what I like to refer to as nature's gym, which is all the things I've been speaking about, and want to add to that going out into nature, walking, climbing up steep slopes, squeezing through gaps in the vegetation, maybe even climbing a tree. Any kind of activity which puts you out in nature where you're doing something, picking wild berries when the season is right, foraging for wild plants when you know which are the right ones to go for. Likewise, foraging for mushrooms, whether edible mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, or other kind of mushrooms. These are all really great activities because they connect us with the physical realms. So my suggestion to you is, if you're a shamanic practitioner and you have to combine this with a lot of time sitting in front of a screen, I invite you to take this as a warning. I'm not saying don't sit in front of a screen, but what I am saying is it's a really good thing, and in your case even more important, to balance it with these physical activities. And indeed, for people who like to run and to cycle, these things also help. Anything that enables us to engage, and where it's appropriate to do so, and in many places it isn't, I accept that, but where it's appropriate to do so, remove your footwear and walk around where it's safe to do so on the ground. This is also really helpful. as it's pretty obvious, isn't it? So these are my general recommendations for people who are enjoying and experiencing the shamanic lifestyle, is to ground by some really good physical activities. And there's something which is extra as a bonus. A lot of people go on social media and use their devices because what they are unconsciously searching is the dopamine hit. And the dopamine hit can happen when someone likes what you've put up there. All this kind of stuff, really obvious. Anything that engages your interest is likely to give you some kind of a dopamine hit. And I was watching a really interesting film yesterday, and the guy was making it really clear that the quality of the dopamine hit you get from social media, it's the crappiest, lowest quality dopamine hit you can possibly go for. It's rather like being in a situation when you're hungry and you go and get some fast food, satisfying the hunger, but the body will still have nutritional deficiencies because the food isn't up to the job. So similar thing in this way. It's so interesting to realize that if you've got a physical job to do, such as you need to go and do something in the garden, mow the lawn, dig something up, clear out some plants which have reached a point where they are now dying and need to be taken away. These physical things give us so much of a greater satisfaction, and I'm particularly aware of that at the moment because I'm moving house. So some years ago I did things like I built my own compost heaps, and I bought and erected my own polytunnel and all these things, built raised beds, built deep beds. Well, now I'm having the pleasure of doing the opposite. I'm taking the deep bed to pieces, dismantling it. I'm dismantling the compost heap, and I'm taking away the wooden frames for that today. And when that's done, then I'll be disposing of all the compost which I've created, because it's time to move house and I can't leave it here. All these sorts of things I am discovering give me such a great sense of satisfaction, which people refer to as a really good quality dopamine hit. Anything where you're being creative or destructive, in the case of breaking something apart, it's the same kind of thing. Building something, dismantling something. And this is one of the things I love about yurts, because when I built the yurt and I take it somewhere, I get to erect the yurt, I get to dismantle the yurt. All these things give huge, high quality dopamine hits, which are far more satisfying than anything you can ever get on social media. So my suggestion is, if you live a lifestyle where you do need to spend a lot of time online, balance it out. So even if you're not a shamanic practitioner, many hours in front of the screen, balance it out with some physical activities where you can see some kind of result. And that's what I love about the cleaning. You start, the floor needs hoovering, you hoover the floor, you look at the floor, dopamine hit. Washing the dishes is the same thing. In fact, this is one of the things I do like to go on a little bit about, because when it comes to washing dishes, unless you actually throw all your dishes away at the end of each meal, or you use disposable dishes, I certainly hope you don't, then you can either leave the dishes hanging around until the following day, or I know someone who literally saves all the dishes up for an entire week and then washes an entire week's worth of dishes up. Now, you must get an incredible dopamine hit from doing that, but my suggestion to you is, if you wash your dishes sooner rather than later, it means you spend more time in a clean environment. The other thing is mopping. Mopping is just great. I will just have to throw this in, because I have learned, because I am a volunteer, I volunteer and I clean the dance space in a dance church in Pendragon House before we dance. And I've discovered you can do so many more things with a mop than I realised. You can clean windows with a mop. You can even clean the inside of a shed with a mop once it's been brushed out. And you can also clean a car with a mop. Amazing the things you can do with a mop. So gives me a chance to become more versatile, and again, it's creativity, doing things in a different way. It all helps. Creativity is our lifeblood as human beings. It gives us great satisfaction. So thank you very much, and all the love to you.